So, what prompted me to come to the symposium, the gathering? Yeah, I had the great opportunity of like going on a retreat, and it was for a weekend with Adornment Stories, and like it was a group of LGBTQ Black folks, and it was like packed full of different activities, but something like the one thing about it that made me feel so good after leaving was just like the connections that I was able to build. And when I heard that they were having another event, it was really easy for me to make the decision to come. I think, like, yeah, being here today, I was definitely right about that. To hear just like so much information around community care and disability justice and like just hearing all the wisdom in the room from other people, building connections again, the food, the laughter, everything about it feels like home to me, and it helps me feel a little less alone. From like the retreat being like focusing on mental health, and I think this also has a focus on mental health, but specifically about like world building and community care. I think that's like such an important piece of tackling like the things that are happening in the world today, and I'm just like really happy to be a part of it. And today just like gave me like some hope, really. Yeah, one theme that I'm taking away, I think that like yeah, it's just I'm not alone. I'm not alone in the feelings of isolation. I'm not alone in wanting a better world for us, of wanting more for myself, and to like really put energy into my purpose, which I feel like is connecting with community and is building connection and is learning to love better and is learning to create more care in my life and prioritizing those needs. I think like I don't know. It's hard to pick one theme because there's so much that I'm taking from this. But overall, is like yeah, building a world in my mind and taking the steps to make that happen in my life. I think is like very helpful, and it's not me necessarily like trying to change the whole world. It just starts with myself and my kin, my community, and working from there. Why do I feel like it's important for folks to be a part of a symposium like this? I think that like the first thing that comes to mind is like just like the world that we're in today, what we're seeing on the news. Everyone's working hard. Everyone's trying to survive. People are barely making it by. There's just a lot of stress in everyday life. There's a lot of mental health struggles in this city, in Toronto and Hamilton area. I think that like when we're talking about like Black, queer, and trans bodies, those folks are experiencing so much stress and so much like heartache, and it's just constantly happening in community. So this is something that can really like help folks see hope, like see a future beyond what is happening around them, and see that like there are ways of like building more love and care around your life. I think that yeah, it's an experience to like go out there in the world and try to figure it out, but you don't have to do it alone. And I think coming to a space like this has helped me feel that like yeah, I can find people who think the same way and learn from them, and not feel like so isolated in the city.
So, what brought me to the symposium was the name of it at first. So, how it was symbolized around world building. And I really like that because I think as we came out of a lockdown and such, the world has been changing ever since. I have previously actually been in a Dormant Stories transformational stories program. And we learned a lot about each other, and I've always followed the organization and everything that they have done. So yeah, just being able to be here to support the organization and reconnect with everyone within my program, or even seeing new leaders and what they're doing in society right now, it's truly inspiring. Something I would take away from today, there was a lot of information that I really was processing through my mind, but the point that really stood out, and I guess the workshop that stood out, is disability justice. And I didn't have much knowledge about that, even though I am a social worker. And I wanted to be able to support people in that capacity. So, really listening into that workshop and getting details and insights of what was the history behind it. Why did folks fight for the defund the police? What was involved in creating a movement like that and a movement in general? And how do we like fight for our rights? So being able to be educated on how people have done it within the 80s, the 90s, and current times, I was able to actually gain context. And if we were wanting to fight for just an idea, affordable housing in Toronto, how would we go about it? So learning from that experience and applying it to new times context and how we can do something similar, I think that was a major point for me. So it's really important for folks to be a part of conversations like this because in our busy day-to-day lives, we are so caught up in like a rat race and survival mode that I don't think we take a break or a pause to start reflecting on topics like world building, disability justice, self-care, and even taking that moment can be self-care is what we were talking about today in one of the sessions. Having different perspectives within the room gave me the ability to learn from others. Even though I might have not seen it that way, now I'm able to see it and also share with other people what I've learned within these sessions. So it's education that lives on, it's intergenerational wealth, it's intergenerational healing, and we are here for it.
So, what made me want to be a part of this symposium was, first of all, just a space for built for and by Black people. I think for me, I've struggled to find spaces like that since the pandemic. And just the symposium just spoke to just a simple fact of like putting all of us together and to talk and to really hear one another when it comes to like Black mental health and holding space. My problem is in finding that one thing that actually spoke to me during this conference is trying to pick that one thing. There were so many things that actually spoke to me, like right off the bat, questioning what do I give this world that we're in? And historically, that is through labor. And what was interesting about in this particular space is that we weren't talking about labor. We weren't talking about the labor in which we do that we can give back. We were talking about ourselves as beings, as whole people, as what type of characteristics, what type of, art, what speaks to you and how can you use that to speak to other people. And I found that transformative in the sense of that we are thinking of people in this space as whole people and not how or what can we get out of them or us, especially as Black people on Turtle Island that have historically have had our labor taken from us. So being in a space, Black people, where we can talk about and really think about what do I want to give this world and what does that mean was powerful. I think one of the things that I've taken with that is like community care and that we take care of each other. And it's something that I've seen within Black communities probably my whole life. But it's something that we're now focusing on and recognizing that care and the type of care that we need as Black people can only come from our community. I need to go back and think about that on a deeper level. And what does that mean if we can take care of each other? And how can I, as a Black person, take care of my community? And also, as a Black disabled person, how can my community come through when I need them to? And that's something that I haven't really thought of until today on a deeper level. And I guess my last thing would be access needs. As I said, I am a disabled person, but to actually think that I didn't have a prepared statement for what my access needs were was mind-boggling to me, to myself, and to also recognize that we don't question our access needs at all. And when I personally thought of my access needs, I would think in a scope of like logistical needs, physical needs, spatial needs, and not beyond what do I need emotionally? Do I need sunshine? Do I need laughter? Do I need a space in which I feel able to and willing to and welcome to speak what's on my mind, and not be guarded because of other people in that space? And those are also access needs. And I didn't ever thought of that as access needs until after this symposium. So that's something for me. So I think from this day on, when I think of access needs, I think I will start listing what I need, not only logistical, because that is important to me as well, but also spiritually and also emotionally, because I think they are just as important, but I think they're often ignored. I think it's extremely important for these spaces to exist, just by the fact that they don't exist in this world as is. The fact that we as Black people have to come together to create this space that doesn't include, or hopefully doesn't even include as much as possible, doesn't try to include like white supremacy. And that's something that we individually have to navigate in our daily lives. And to be in a space in which we don't have to navigate white supremacy is incredibly transformative as well as revolutionary. I think that for myself, and particularly, I think these spaces are important to remind me that although the outside of these spaces, the historical visual representation of a person with disability is one with a physical disability, and more so is a white person. And whereas in reality, it's historically people of color who are in communities of disability and or of different abilities. And it's most likely Black people who are in particular marginalized within these spaces. So to have a space where not only disability justice is shone on us, but actually is informed by us is extremely, I said this already, but transformative.